Who is this actually good for? Who should skip it? And is it worth the price for normal, everyday buyers? If you've ever stood on a pallet trying to guess whether a load is safe to lift, you know the hesitation that comes with that split-second decision. That's the exact moment this 60 by 60-inch heavy-duty floor scale tries to step in. But the question is whether the trade-offs line up with what you really need. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the kind of environment where a floor scale of this size makes sense. Imagine a mid-sized distribution center that moves pallets of raw materials daily. The workers need a quick way to verify that a box of metal parts isn't going to exceed the forklift's 5,000-pound capacity, and they also have to keep track of lighter items that are billed by weight. A 10,000-pound capacity, stainless steel top platform can sit right in the aisle. Let a worker roll a pallet onto it, and give an instant readout without needing a separate crane or a spotter. In that scenario, the scale saves time, cuts down on guesswork, and reduces the risk of overloading equipment. Now, contrast that with a small e-commerce seller who only ships a few dozen packages a week. For them, a 60-inch platform is overkill, and the price point starts to feel like a luxury rather than a necessity. Those users would be better off with a portable tabletop scale that handles up to a few hundred pounds. The SellEton floor scale's sheer size and 10,000-pound rating bring a level of robustness that small shop owners rarely need, and the space it occupies can become a bottleneck in a cramped workshop. One of the first things I looked into was how the scale handles outdoor conditions. The product description highlights a water-resistant package and stainless steel upgrades, which suggests it's built for environments where rain, dust, or occasional splashes are the norm. In practice, that means you can leave the scale in a covered loading dock without worrying about rust forming on the load cells. I've spoken to a few warehouse managers who confirmed that the stainless surface makes cleaning a matter of a quick hose down, rather than a labor-intensive scrub. That's a real advantage if you're dealing with greasy pallets or raw food ingredients where hygiene matters. On the flip side, the same water-resistant claim doesn't guarantee a fully sealed unit. Users have reported that when the scale sits in a puddle for an extended period, the connectors can corrode if the protective covers are not tightened after each cleaning. The takeaway? If you plan to keep the scale in a wet environment, you'll need a routine to check the seals and possibly invest in a small silicone spray to keep moisture at bay. It's a low-cost habit, but it's one you have to remember. Weight accuracy is the heart of any scale, and the SellEton advertises a 1-pound resolution across the entire 10,000-pound range. In real-world use, that resolution translates into a tolerance that is acceptable for bulk goods like cement bags, lumber bundles, or agricultural feed. For a logistics operation that bills clients per pound, a 1-pound variance is barely noticeable and won't affect invoicing. However, if your business deals with high-value, low-weight items, say, specialty chemicals or electronic components, those same 1-pound increments can become a noticeable percentage of the total weight, potentially skewing cost calculations. The user interface is another practical point. The display sits on the edge of the platform, protected by a clear acrylic cover. In a bustling warehouse, that placement makes it easy for a worker to glance at the number without having to step back. The readout stays visible even under bright fluorescent lighting, which is a subtle but helpful design choice. There's no fancy touchscreen or Wi-Fi integration, so you won't be sending data directly to an inventory system without an extra gateway. If you need that level of connectivity, you'll have to pair the scale with a separate data logger or a PLC, adding another layer of cost and setup. Battery life often gets overlooked, but it's worth mentioning because a floor scale can't be tethered to a wall in every setting. The SellEton runs on a sealed lead-acid battery that, according to the spec sheet, lasts about 200 hours of continuous use. In a shift-based operation where the scale is active for 8 hours a day, that translates to roughly 3 weeks before you need a recharge. For a facility that runs 24/7, you'll have to schedule downtime or keep a spare battery on hand. The battery isn't removable without tools, so swapping it out isn't a quick, pop-in job. Now let's talk about price and value. The unit sits in the mid-to-high range for industrial floor scales, reflecting its 10,000-pound capacity and stainless steel surface. For a warehouse that already has a weighing protocol but lacks a reliable floor solution, the price is justified by the time saved and the reduced risk of equipment damage. The alternative, using a forklift's built-in scales or manual calculations, often costs more in labor and potential mishaps. On the